Today on Rappler, Typhoon Glenda pummels Metro Manila and surrounding provinces, leaving at least 20 people dead. Hints from Pope Francis on the controversial issue of allowing priests to marry causes confusion in the Vatican. And Filipino-American and undocumented immigrant Jose Antonio Vargas is arrested by U.S. border agents and set free. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. Typhoon Ramazan, known locally as Glenda, pummeled parts of central Luzon, southern Luzon, and Bicol for the past 24 hours. It is now at the South China Sea or the West Philippine Sea and is expected to be out of the Philippine area of responsibility by Thursday afternoon, July 17. State Weather Bureau Pagasa says Glenda's eye was located 160 kilometers west of Zambales as of 4 p.m. this afternoon. Moving at 24 kilometers per hour, Glenda slightly weakened after passing through the Calabar Zone region with maximum sustained winds of up to 140 kilometers per hour near the center and gusts of up to 170 kilometers per hour. Storm signal levels downgrade to signal number 1, which includes Metro Manila and the provinces of Laguna, Batangas, northern part of Occidental and Oriental Mindoro, Zambales, Tarlac, Pampanga, Bataan, Bulacan, Rizal, Cavite, Lubang Island, and Pangasinan. At least 20 people are reported dead by 6 p.m., with 7 injured and 6 missing. Fallen debris and trees caused most of the deaths and injuries. Authorities continue to receive more reports that are still being validated. Among the dead is an 11-month-old girl in Cavite. She was inside her home when a concrete wall fell, crushing her. There were 2 other deaths in that province, a man living in a shanty and a 22-year-old man who was riding a motorcycle during the height of the storm. He was killed after a telephone pole fell on him. The Department of Social Welfare reports over 423,000 individuals or 76,000 families have been displaced by Glenda. Over 200 houses were also reported damaged. A total of around 500,000 people were affected. Many areas have no power, with 86% of Meralco subscribers affected in Metro Manila and most of Luzon. Meralco says that transmission lines of the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines in South Luzon were destroyed by the typhoon. Power is slowly being restored in areas hit by the blackout since 2 p.m. today, but it's unclear when power will be totally restored. As Glenda moved away from Metro Manila, water levels at the Marikina River subsides to 15.1 meters, bringing the alert down to level 1 as of 4 p.m. today. Provinces Bataan, Cavite, and Zambales bear the brunt of Glenda's wrath, with Cavite and the city of Muntinlupa declaring a state of calamity. The provinces of Albay, Camarines Sur, and Camarines Norte in the Bicol region also declared a state of calamity Tuesday night. As of Wednesday, Albay declares it achieves its 0 casualty goal. Glenda hit most of the Bicol region and some parts of eastern Visayas. Joining us live on the phone is Project NOAA Executive Director Mahar Lagmay. You'd know him as @Nababaha on Twitter. Good evening, Mahar. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, good evening, Maria.
So you've been watching this all so closely. How would you assess the response to Typhoon Glenda?
Oh, I think it was very good. The number of fatalities for Glenda, which is a very powerful typhoon, which pummeled also heavily populated areas starting from Bicol all the way up to Zambales, crossing the middle part of the archipelago. And because that was a very powerful typhoon and there were lots that were affected, still the number of casualties is very low, and I guess the response was quite good. Actually, in disaster mitigation and prevention, there are 2 important things to consider. One, there must be good warning, understandable, accurate warnings that were provided by the government, and that must be matched by appropriate action by the people. And I guess when those 2 combine, the success rate for effective disaster mitigation and prevention works very well.
Given what you've seen, could we have done anything better?
Yes, of course. The objective really is to have zero casualties, and the objective is really not to have mass deaths over a certain area, like what happened, for example, during Yolanda and Pablo. But those were two different scenarios wherein we were blindsided by two very new hazard phenomena. One was the very large storm surge event, and the other, which happened during Pablo on December 4th, 2012, which was also a very large hazard event called a debris flow involving 20 to 30 million cubic meters of rocks cascading down the community of New Bataan in Compostela Valley.
The information seemed to have been given to the public with enough time. There weren't any of those major surprises in this one, except for the fact that the storm seemed to have picked up its pace, right? I mean, it really passed through Metro Manila relatively quickly. Did you expect that, or was that a surprise?
No, it was predicted actually the night before or the day before that Metro Manila will be hit by the typhoon at around 8 to 9 a.m. And that actually constitutes good forecasting, and that is an important part of the warning system that I was talking about earlier. And if you have a good warning to the people that's understandable and accurate, that is the main component of a good preparedness plan or preparedness measures. It just must be matched by the appropriate response of the people, which is based on good education, probably experience from past events, and willingness to participate in the response program.
Fantastic. Lessons learned from this experience for the next one.
Lessons learned. Well, there are many lessons learned here. The good lessons are number one, that if the government actually works hard and gives good forecast, it provides a good basis for effective and appropriate action. And it also helps if the government, headed by the highest in command, the father of our country, commands everybody to work for that warning system that we want to put in place for an effective disaster program. And with that warning system comes a lot of hard work. It's not just trying to say that it's going to happen. There's a lot of science behind it. There's a lot of technology behind it. There's a lot of hard work behind it in order to come up with an accurate warning. And all of those things are needed to be able to achieve a zero casualty. It's also good to note that albay achieve its zero casualty, we probably need to do that in other places. We want zero casualties really. The other things that we need to do is probably to get more people to get involved. Right now, we know that a lot of people got involved. Media was very important in disseminating the information to get the people involved and informed, because you won't get them involved if they are not involved, if they are not informed properly. And, I think media, all of the channels, the crime media, the newspapers, the radio, the TV broadcast, including social media, played an important role in the effort. And that gave the people information, necessary information to act accordingly.
Fantastic.
I don't.
Go ahead, Mahar.
I don't know. I don't know about the negative things that we learned here. Probably there are none, because it was quite a successful effort that we made to mitigate the impact of that catastrophic event. It was actually a catastrophic event because it was a typhoon that passed very strong winds, about 175 kilometers per hour. That's actually very strong.
Yes.
It was not as strong as Yolanda, but nonetheless still very strong. And we were prepared for the hazards that were associated with that typhoon, and we acted accordingly. The LGUs, the individuals in the community, the civil society organizations, everybody participated. All of these things would not happen if there was no community effort. And I mean that everybody should participate in order for it to be effective.
Fantastic. Mahar, last question. Last night we spoke with Albay Governor Joey Salceda, and he talked about how part of the problem is that not enough of the local government units are doing this. There are 1,800 local government units who are really at the forefront of this. And are you seeing better take-up among them? I mean, this seemed to have been much better coordinated today than it had been in the past. Is that an accurate observation?
I think so. I mean, if they did not participate, if they left their constituents alone, then on their own, then probably there would have been more deaths. So that's my basis for saying that they did their part. Everybody did their part. It's not only the government officials, I think, that did their part. It's everybody doing their part in order for that program to be effective, in order to lower or lessen the number of casualties associated with Typhoon Glenda.
Thank you so much. That's Mahar Lagmay, the proponent of Project NOAA, at the forefront of getting information out. Certainly great feedback on social media today, the crowdsourcing on Project Agos. Thank you so much, Mahar Lagmay, for joining us. Filipinos were warned about the threat of storm surges, as you heard from Mahar Lagmay, from Typhoon Ramasun or Glenda. How did the Bayside city, Manila, survive the typhoon? Pia Renada was there at when the eye of the storm was right outside Manila Bay. This is what she had to say.
Typhoon Glenda covers Manila in curtains of water. It's the first typhoon to make rainfall in 2014. More aware now because of typhoons of previous years, Manila prepares for the onslaught. Employees of the Metro Manila Development Authority laid down a defensive wall of sandbags in Manila Bay along Rojas Boulevard. The sandbags are for the 2-meter storm surge predicted to happen as the eye of the typhoon nears Manila Bay.
The purpose of these bags are to increase the height of the dike, the water breaker, as well as to increase the length. So in case of a possible projected 2-meter surge, I think this would also help. Historical ang tinatamaan kasi ito yung gitna eh.
At 8 in the morning, the eye of Glenda comes and goes, thankfully without the surge. So Manila turns its attention to other pressing matters, such as roads blocked by fallen trees.
Parang mga kanya hindi madaanan eh. Nagbaksakan yung mga puno. Kaya ngayon, 26 na towing trucks. Ginukuha ngayon. Kaya malinis na. Tsaka ang ganda ngayon, hindi masyadong bumaha ang Maynila.
But while the city itself did not suffer great damage, lives have been turned upside down. There are more than 4,300 people in this evacuation center in Baseco.
Malakas yung hangin, tapos nakatulog nga po kami, kaimbingan ng tulog, and lumipad po yung isang yero namin. Tapos hinabol pa nga po ng asawa ko, tapos tinalian yung bubong. Tapos yun, hanggang sa nag-umaga na lang, lahat na ng yero namin natanggal na.
I visit Sheena's village to see the damage.
I'm here now in Village 649, Baseco, Manila, and you can see behind me a boat that fell down just this morning around 8 a.m. because of Typhoon Glenda's strong winds. Nobody got hurt because all the residents were evacuated the previous night, but apparently this boat has been inland for 2 years being repaired. This is just proof of how strong Typhoon Glenda's winds were, but at least here in Manila, people's lives were spared.
The evacuees have not yet been allowed to return to their homes, but that doesn't mean they can't start rebuilding. Further down the road, street vendors are back in business. Ours after the typhoon center passed over their village. Life just can't wait to get back to normal. Pia Renada, Rappler, Manila.
Glenda leaves thousands stranded all over the Philippines. Strong winds damaged 2 international planes parked at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport Wednesday. The head of the Air Safety Foundation says a Singapore Airlines and a Malaysian Airlines plane were airborne for a short time when strong gusts lifted their wings. Both planes are still at the airport for repairs. NAIA suspended operations 7 a.m. Wednesday and resumed at 11 a.m. But that stranded more than 302 domestic flights and 93 international flights. The Philippine Coast Guard, or PCG, reports a total of 6,551 passengers, 614 rolling cargos, 37 vessels, and 24 motor bangkas are stranded in various ports all over the country. The National Disaster Risk Reduction Council also reports vessel MV Ocean Hope, with 24 crew members on board, ran aground north of San Nicolas Shoal in Cavite. It is now drifting towards Corregidor Island. Railway operations remain suspended in Metro Manila. Light Rail Transit Authority spokesman Hernando Cabrera tweets, "Due to operational, technical, and power supply concerns, the LRT and MRT will no longer resume operations today." Railway operations will resume Thursday with enough power supply. Malacanang announces work in government offices resume tomorrow. Local governments will decide whether classes, which had been suspended across all levels since yesterday, will resume tomorrow. For the complete list on school class suspensions, log on to www.rappler.com and go to the bottom of the front page, click on class suspension. Rappler civic engagement arm Move PH, in cooperation with BlogWatch's citizen advocates, is compiling a list of relief and volunteer efforts initiated by groups and individuals to help those affected by the typhoon. Please share this with your friends, families, and networks and encourage them to extend help to those in need. Do you know of an open relief operations center? Help us create this public list by visiting rplr.co/GlendaRelief. Are we in for more bad weather? Well, State Weather Bureau Pag-asa on Wednesday says the next weather disturbance may come this weekend. The report aligns with new low-pressure areas spotted by Space Agency NASA in the northwestern Pacific Ocean. On their hurricane webpage, NASA posts an image of spotted formations of System 93W and 94W. NDRRMC Chief Alexander Pama says the possible formation of storms is, in his words, "It's too early to tell." Here comes the next typhoon, but rehabilitation has not even started in Haiyan-hit areas. Rehabilitation Secretary Panfilo Lacson says his office is waiting for President Benigno Aquino to approve local recovery and rehabilitation plans of Tacloban City, Leyte, Samar, and Cebu. He adds this phased implementation is, quote, expected to start in full swing upon approval by the President. Lacson says if he did not propose the staggered approach, all 171 local government units affected by Yolanda or Typhoon Haiyan, quote, will be waiting for each other, which would delay the whole effort. Yolanda survivors were once again felt the effects of Glenda as the northern part of Leyte and the rest of Samar and eastern Samar were placed under storm warning signals. Typhoon Glenda forced at least 7,300 residents from Yolanda-hit areas to evacuate. In April, estimates by the DSWD, the Department of Social Welfare and Development, showed that up to 130,000 Yolanda survivors still live in tents. Lieutenant General Gregorio Pio Catapang is the new Armed Forces Chief of Staff in the Philippines. Catapang will be replacing Armed Forces Chief of Staff General Emmanuel Bautista, who retires July 20th. The turnover of command will be on Friday. A former commanding general of the Northern Luzon Command, Catapang was part of the Reform the Armed Forces movement, which plotted the revolt against former President Ferdinand Marcos. 2014 marks a shakeup in the military's top brass after the retirement of key commanders. 3 more generals holding crucial command posts are retiring this year. Censorship in Singapore. Well, on Wednesday, judges of a literary prize quit to protest the Singapore National Library's plans to destroy 3 children's books with homosexual themes. The 3 judges of the nonfiction category of the Singapore Literature Prize condemned the National Library Board, or NLB, decision last week. The 3 books it wants to destroy, And Tango Makes 3, The White Swan Express, and Who's in My Family? In a statement, prominent literary figures T. Sashitaran, Roman Bose, and Robin Hemley say destroying the books is, in their words, bigoted and sets a very worrying precedent that it is acceptable to discriminate against anyone who may hold differing values and opinions. The The state-funded NLB says it's reacting to complaints by a parent and its own internal review. 3 times, Pope Francis hinted at the possibility of priests being able to marry, this creating confusion in the Vatican. Francis has talked about changes to the tradition of celibate priests twice in 3 months, but without any specific reforms. On a flight back from his trip to the Middle East, Francis points out there were already married priests in the Ukrainian, Greek Catholic, and Coptic Catholic churches. The European Federation of Married Catholic Priests estimates more than 100,000 former Catholic priests have gotten married over the years, amounting to roughly a quarter of the number of current priests. Earlier this year, women involved with priests from Italy wrote an open letter to the Pope asking for a Vatican audience to tell Francis of their, quote, suffering because of the secret lives they have to lead. Vatican expert Andrea Tornielli says the issue is close to Francis because he was close to an Argentine bishop who renounced the priesthood for love. Italian daily La Repubblica quoted Francis as saying on priestly celibacy, "There are solutions and I will find them." Vatican spokesman Federico Lombardi denies Francis's comments. Let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 5, 20 people died and nearly 130 more were hurt after a train derailed in Moscow during rush hour Tuesday. It is the worst accident to hit one of the world's busiest subways. Russian media reports passengers fell like dominoes when the train braked abruptly, derailing 3 carriages. Initial investigations say the break was caused by a false alarm triggered by a supply voltage dip. At number 7, Israel resumed attacks against Gaza Tuesday, firing dozens of rockets over the border, killing an Israeli man. The renewed bombing comes after Hamas rejected a truce offer from Israel. The first Israeli death of the conflict came after nearly 1,000 rockets and mortar rounds hit the Jewish state. 4 Israelis were seriously wounded. Medics say the strikes killed 5 Palestinians, raising the Gaza death toll to 197 in 8 days of violence. And at number 10, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist and activist Jose Antonio Vargas was freed by U.S. border agents after being held for several hours. Vargas's group, Define American, says he was in Texas to highlight the plight of tens of thousands of children from Central America who went across the border in the past year to search for a better life. Campaigners and leaders, including the mayor of New York, called for his release from detention. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. Manny Pacquiao has his next opponent. ESPN.com reports the WBO welterweight title holder will face New Yorker Chris Algieri at the Venetian Resort in Macau on November 22. This is Pacquiao's second time fighting in Macau. His first was in November 2013 when he outboxed Brandon Rios, coming back from 2 consecutive losses against Timothy Bradley and rival Juan Manuel Marquez. Algieri was an unknown fighter until he scored an upset win against Provodnikov to take the WBO junior welterweight title. Every story on Rappler has a mood meter, which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click how you feel and your vote comes down to the mood navigator in the middle of the front page. That crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories that have affected our readers and viewers the most emotionally. If you take a look, these 10 stories on our front page have gotten the most number of votes on their mood meter. And you can see right away here every story that has to do with Typhoon Glenda, like this. Batters South Luzon 67% afraid, or this, signal number 3 in Metro Manila 71% afraid. These 4 stories all afraid connected to Glenda. And the story that was pushed aside for the day is President Aquino and DAP, and you can see 3 stories here connected to that. Aquino hits the Supreme Court, insists DAP is legal, 53% angry, 41% happy. And the story that's gotten the most number of votes in the last 24 hours, Aquino asks supporters to wear yellow ribbon. Interestingly, you have 19% happy and a whopping 65% angry. That red, bringing out the mood of the day. Today, most people are angry. That is Rappler's Newscast for today, Wednesday, July 16, 2014. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, Tomorrow begins today.